Thanksgiving is this week, and with the holidays upon us, many people will think of those less fortunate than themselves. But for food pantries across the area, it's just another opportunity to continue their work. And that's the case at Berkshire Bounty, which collects and helps distribute food to those in need. Berkshire Bounty co-founder Mark Lefenfeld joined me in the studio to discuss.
It was recognizing a need and seeing that there was an opportunity to address that need. The genesis of Berkshire Bounty began in 2015 when my business partner, Jay Weintraub, was complaining about all the apples he had in his backyard from the trees he had in his backyard. And in that season, there were a lot of people who were expressing the same complaint. And Jay and I were having lunch, and we said, well, there's probably something we can do with the apples. So we came up with this idea. Actually, it was Jay's idea. I give him credit for it, and I said I would help him out with it, of going to all the people who have trees in their backyards and say, we'll take their fruit and distribute it to those in need. Those in need. You asked me why I got involved. I became aware of food insecurity in the Berkshires, which had been known as the hidden problem. Because there's a lot of wealth in the Berkshires, people tend not to see the significant number of people who suffer food insecurity, that is, hungry or at risk of being hungry.
Right, that's the definition of food insecurity.
Exactly. And it's not necessarily homeless people. There are some homeless people around, of course, but many of the people who suffer food insecurity are working people, and they simply cannot afford to buy nutritious food for themselves and or their families.
Or it's a choice. Am I going to pay this bill on time this month? Exactly. Or am I going to pick up the groceries that we need to stretch to the end of the month?
Exactly. Statistics suggest that approximately 10% of the population in all of Berkshire County, in all of Western Massachusetts, suffer food insecurity. Yeah. And in fact, in a recent piece in a local paper, the headline read, "It's insatiable," and there is an insatiable need for it. So what we decided to do was pick those apples, and we geared up to be operational the next year, and unfortunately, that was a terrible year for all fruit. So we expanded into picking up food from supermarkets and farms. So in a very quick summary, we now pick up from a number of supermarkets in South County and Pittsfield, from a number of farms in the area, and from about 25 or so property owners who have trees in their backyard. We've expanded to sort of institutional property owners like Norman Rockwell and Cropalo.
Everybody who might have a little extra that they're willing to gift. And they are, in fact, gifting this freely, correct? And it's
absolutely.
Then the volunteers who are picking up the items bring them to one of 15 different distribution sites, if I'm correct, right?
Correct.
And that food is then freely given to anyone who is in need. But do you have parameters for people, or can anyone walk in if they say that they are in need of this type of support?
Well, they don't walk into us. They walk into all these distribution centers.
Right.
And sometimes there are parameters that are followed. For example, when they come to pick up food at People's Pantry at St. James Church in Great Barrington, if it's an individual, they can take so much. If it's a family, they can take more. But nobody is ever turned away. Nobody is ever turned away. We focused on serving as many people as possible. And that forced us, frankly, to make a decision as we grew. And grew we did. First year, we collected and delivered 8,000 pounds. Second year, we collected and delivered 33,000 pounds, and this year we're at 110,000 pounds and counting for the calendar year. Wow. So our growth has been explosive, and it really sensitized us to how deep and broad the need is.
And in terms of that need, at this time of year, does the need intensify? Does the work become more significant because it's the holidays and people tend to associate that with a time of being together, enjoying food together with other people?
It does become more intense, but I think it becomes more intense emotionally rather than having a dramatic increase in the amount of food that's required, because a lot of people get activated. A lot of organizations, a lot of individuals collect turkeys, collect food, so there's a lot of stuff going on Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we're trying to do that, but we try and focus on the day-in, day-out needs, 12 months a year. We are now operating 12 months a year. That was not the case only a couple of years ago.
As you mentioned, you got involved in this in 2015. The underlying issues that are driving food insecurity, do you have any sense if those are getting better or worse? Are you seeing more need for the work that you're doing?
I can only give you my opinion. I see the need growing. Poverty is the underlying issue, and poverty is trending up, frankly. Absence of housing, absence of employment. It's very easy to step back and say, well, the economy is in good shape, so there shouldn't be a problem there. So employment is decent, employment is low, so there shouldn't be a problem there. But the fact of the matter is, the folks who suffer food insecurity don't benefit from the economy being in good shape. They don't care that the stock market is at an all-time high. They're just worried about, can they get paid enough money to feed their family in a healthy fashion. So while the overall statistics may suggest that things are in good shape, specific response to your question, we see that need for nutritious food being readily available growing.
Now, the organization that you are now has grown a bit in the past year. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
You actually merged with an organization called Backyard Bounty.
Well, the two organizations were
Became.
a lot of bees.
A lot of bees.
Backyard Bounty of the Berkshires and Berkshire's Bounty. Berkshire's Bounty was founded 20 years ago by a gentleman named Mel Greenberg. And we all knew him and he knew all of us. And we ran parallel organizations for a few years. Things were hunky-dory. And unfortunately, Mel fell ill. And as his health faded, it was sensible for us to join forces. So that is, in fact, what we did.
And now, as you're doing that, you're an all-volunteer organization. You hire some seed money is given from a few organizations,
Correct.
But mostly volunteer-driven. If you had more volunteers, do you think that you could distribute food to more than those 15 locations?
The answer is yes, but as all answers suggest, there's a nuance to it. Just volunteers, the number of volunteers is not the key. We have close to, I'd say about 60 folks, 60 individuals who have registered. The key is, actually there are two keys. Number one, for people to be regularly available, and number two, for people to be physically capable of lifting some boxes. We have boxes that weigh up to 40, 50 pounds. So we don't want people hurting their backs or things like that. And because we deliver during the business day, 5 days a week, and during the summer, 7 days a week, we tend to get older volunteers, which exacerbates the problem of having a physical ability to lift boxes. So we are really anxious to find younger volunteers, and we are doing that. We have about 30 or so volunteers who are available to us or make themselves available on a regular basis. The balance of the registered volunteers are well-intentioned, but they just don't have the availability. And that's fine. We during the fruit picking season, we can pull all those people in. But what we are looking to do, our major challenge, is to make our organization sustainable. We feel we have a real shot at creating an organization that will be around doing this way beyond myself and Jay Weintraub. And so as a result of that, what we're trying to do is delegate as much as possible and shift responsibility, full responsibility for Mondays to a group of volunteers, full responsibility for Tuesday to a separate group of volunteers. We have a few people who stand ready to be the safety net, but we essentially send the message, solve your own scheduling problems. Speak to the people. If you need to refine something, refine it. We didn't want this organization to be a top-down organization. We really wanted it to be a ground-up, grassroots organization where they're in control rather than just listening to people tell them what to do.